You're listening to 15 Minutes, where we feature community leaders sharing what the rest of us should know but likely don't. Hi, Chad Franzen here, one of the hosts of Share Your Voice, where we talk with top-notch law firms and lawyers about what it takes to grow a successful law practice. This episode is brought to you by Gladiator Law Marketing, delivering tailor-made services to help you accomplish your objectives and maximize your growth potential. To have a successful marketing campaign and make sure you're getting the best ROI, your firm needs to have a better website and better content. Gladiator Law Marketing uses artificial intelligence, machine learning, and decades of experience to outperform the competition. To learn more, go to gladiatorlawmarketing.com, where you can schedule a free marketing consultation. As a founding partner of Donaldson Callif Perez, Lisa Callif is the go-to attorney for all things clearance. Lisa specializes in representing independent producers and production companies in all aspects of content creation, including equity financing, production, and distribution, with extensive experience in fair use, copyright, and personal rights issues. Lisa cuts through red tape for her clients and works tirelessly to preserve artist voices so that they can shine a light on stories that otherwise might not be told. Lisa, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
Hi, Chad. Thanks for having me. I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing great, thanks. Great to have you. Hey, so tell me a little bit more about what you do as a partner at Donaldson Callif Perez.
Well, I actually find myself to be really lucky because the area of law in which we practice, well, I'll go back a little bit. I've always wanted to practice entertainment law, like weirdly, since I was a teenager. I kind of thought, oh, I'll do entertainment law. I think I grew up in LA and my dad was a lawyer and I wanted to be in the arts, but really realized at a very early age that I wasn't a good actress. I couldn't sing. I couldn't really dance. I couldn't draw. And I just wasn't really talented in the creative arts, but I loved the creative arts. And so I figured I could be an entertainment lawyer and be a business person around those people who are creating things. So the things that I liked. So I cut to 2000 and well, whenever I went to law school, it was a long time ago. I went to law school and with the eye of being an entertainment lawyer, kind of did other stuff for a few years. And then when it was coming back to doing entertainment, I met with who's my now partner, Michael Donaldson. And this gets into your question of what do we do? And he had a very small practice representing independent filmmakers and theaters, like all of the live theaters in Los Angeles, so the Geffen and the Taper and the Amundsen, and a few others around town. And I was like, what's independent film? I don't know what this means. Like, why is it different than representing studio films or representing talent? I didn't really understand the different aspects of entertainment law. And after working with him for a while, or very short time, really figured that all out. So really what we do is we represent independent content creators. We used to say filmmakers because that's what we did. And now it's really independent content creators. So whether it be for television, streaming platform, web, film, as long as it's sort of an independent project as opposed to a studio project, that's what we work on. And we represent producers and production companies really from the nuts to bolts of making a project. So from the beginning stages of getting their financing together, developing materials, optioning materials, acquiring rights, through production, and everything that entails, whether it's a nonfiction or fiction project, and then distribution, helping them with distribution agreement, negotiating those. We don't do litigation, so it kind of stops there. And then we have the specialty in clearance, where I think the clearance area is sort of the most interesting area that we work on. And that's really vetting projects to make sure they're legally sound. So when they go out into the world, if it's a biopic, obviously based on a true story, based on individuals, we want to make sure that none of those individuals would have a viable legal claim. For documentaries, kind of same thing. Also utilizing fair use, which is a person's right to use a limited amount of copyrighted material without permission for the purpose of comment or criticism. So really legally vetting these projects. So we get to watch projects and vet them and work with the filmmakers to make sure when it goes out into the world, one, they have insurance, distributor's comfortable, and if anyone comes forward, we know that their claim at least won't be viable. So that was a long-winded answer, but
that's fantastic.
And what we do.
Yeah, you said you wanted to. You said you knew you wanted to be an entertainment lawyer as far back as high school. when I was in high school, I had friends who probably wanted to be lawyers, but nobody knew that. I don't think anybody would have even known that an entertainment lawyer was a thing or was a possibility. Was that from growing up in a legal family or being in LA or both?
I think it was from growing up in LA.
Okay.
And I honestly, now that when I think about it now as an adult and as someone who's seasoned in this industry, I think if I would have known what a producer was, I would have wanted to be a producer. I'm happy I didn't know because I actually really think my personality is really better suited to having a stable job and an office and somewhere to go to every day and sort of being a producer running around from project to project and working insane hours. I think that would be less suiting for the lifestyle I like to enjoy.
Sure,
So,
sure. So what is it about these things, this form of law practice on a day-to-day basis that's really particularly appealing to you? I mean, especially now that
I,
you've already done it for a while.
yeah, I mean, really, it is the satisfaction we get. I mean, most people don't like to interact with lawyers, right? Like they don't want to pay their lawyer bills. They don't like their lawyers. Our lawyers tell them no. And I really feel that in our practice, we have the opportunity to say yes. We really work with our clients to, our kind of our slogan is we help artists tell their stories their way. And that's very true. Like we're always working with them. And I actually was just talking to a client the other day, and she's like, she was working with another lawyer on another project. She's like, it's so frustrating working with him because he just tells me no. Whereas when I work with you, you say no, but let's try this. And so that satisfaction of one, having clients appreciate what we do is pretty great. And then also one of my favorite things in my career is when we work with a client from beginning to end of a project. And if it premieres like at a film festival or if there's some sort of screening or if we're all together and we get to see it come to fruition and get exposed and go out into the world, and often a lot of the films we work on make a big impact in the world. That's very, very rewarding. I love that feeling of being able to complete something with a client and being able to celebrate with them at the end of the day.
During your journey in the legal industry, have you worked in any other kind of law firm or any other kind of with any other types of clients besides those in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, so my first job was at a big firm. I worked at Proskauer Rose. I worked in the LA office, and I was supposed to do entertainment litigation, which I did some of. So we represented a lot of musicians, and I helped with some litigation aspects of that. But this was back in 2001, and if you recall that time, it was a very heavy in securities fraud. It was very heavy. It was Enron, Merrill Lynch, like all of these sort of white collar crimes were happening and or alleged to be happening. And so I got sort of sucked into the white collar group. And I did that type of law for almost 4 years, which I actually loved. And that was really something I knew nothing about, but it was a very interesting way to start my career. Spending a lot of time with clients, reviewing documents, making sure, like, preparing them to testify before different governmental bodies. Um, so it's not something that I use on a day-to-day basis, but certainly those client relations and the relations with the partners I worked with at the time, and just learning kind of how to be a lawyer and how to think were, instrumental to becoming a better and better lawyer as I grew up.
Do you have to take a different approach to, I don't know, interacting with entertainers or creators, people like that, as opposed to maybe clients that you worked with at this particular firm, or are people all the same?
Very. It's actually, I mean, it's a very different approach. One, that was for litigation. That was also people,
Yeah.
we were representing individuals who's either were facing jail time or just loss of their entire professional careers. It was like the stakes were really, really big. Here, we're making movies, which is awesome and it's really fun. And a lot of the movies we work on are really important and send great messages out to the world, but it's not the same intensity for sure. No one's going to jail. Thank
Right.
goodness. I'm knocking on wood.
Right.
Um, but it's also one thing, and I've told this story before because I think it was just one of those moments when I was working at my old job, which by the way, I loved, and I loved partners I worked with. I still keep in touch with them today and they're great. But they were not my people. You know what I mean? I was 25 years old, working with 50 to 70-year-old white, very wealthy males who golfed and lived in the suburbs and had these big financial jobs. And, it was very much, I didn't have a lot to contribute to the conversation. I was just kind of there doing my job. And when I started doing this type of work, and there was young women and people with babies and men and all different types of people, all different types of races. And, it was so great and like almost a breath of fresh air. I was like, these are my people. I was like, not only can I be their advisors, but I actually really like them and we can have like a friendly relationship. And I'm actually really good friends with a lot of my clients. So that's another rewarding part of my job.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. So, how did Donaldson Callif Perez come about?
So I started working with Michael in 2005, and he was a sole practitioner at the time. I was really the first associate he had hired, and it was just the two of us. And we slowly, over time, started growing very organically, very very slowly. But in 2008, we moved, and Michael had a partner at that point, but wasn't really a partner in business, more like an expense sharing relationship. And him and I just talked about being partners. Like, it was actually from a selfish perspective from his side because it allowed clients to feel comfortable. Here, let me give you to my partner, Lisa. I'm just supposed to associate. They felt more comfort with that title. And I think he's much older. He's actually, I don't think he'll mind me saying, but he's like 83 and he's more active than anyone I know. He just did an ice swim in Austria and like he's
Wow,
really, really amazing guy.
amazing.
So anyways, we had this partnership and back in 2008. And then we grew the firm and, we had several more attorneys. Now we're like 16 attorneys. Chris Perez came on, I think about 10 years ago. And he's just been a solid part of the growth of our firm, the culture of our firm, which is really important, and just really, really an instrumental team member. And so about 2 years ago, we made him a named partner of the firm.
Okay. So you didn't like leave another firm to go to Donaldson Callif Perez. You were kind of working and then
No. So I was an associate of Proskauer Rose. Then I joined Michael Donaldson. We became Donaldson Callif.
Mhm.
And then 2 or maybe 3 years ago, we became Donaldson Calif Perez.
So when you first launched with Michael Donaldson, was there like early growing pains that maybe you hadn't experienced before or anything like that? Or was it just kind of a partnership and you went from there?
I got to tell you, it was like a match made in heaven. I'm very fortunate. Michael had this wonderful practice and this great reputation amongst independent filmmakers and nonfiction filmmakers and theater community. And him and I just really saw eye to eye despite our age difference and everything else. Like it was very easy. It was like, I think we should make this much money. Okay. I think we should hire somebody. Okay. Like I think we should move. Okay. Like it was very, very copacetic, which is awesome. So and our business has really grown very much through word of mouth. And we do write, we wrote a book. We actually just came out with our sixth edition of it's called Clearance and Copyright, which talks all about clearance and copyright issues and content creation. And so I think that's a good marketing tool, but we've never had to really do a lot on the business development front. Again, knocking on wood. And marketing, we've really kind of had this very natural growth and referral from word of mouth from clients that we've previously worked on. And I also think like the documentary space, that's probably 70% of our business, has really grown over the last 10 or 15 years. And we were really at the forefront of it. So as we grew, our clients were growing, the medium was becoming more popular. So it's kind of like we grew along with that genre of films.
Sure. Hey, you mentioned your book, Clearance and Copyright. What would you say are the primary takeaways maybe that people would get from reading it?
There's a lot of takeaways. I actually have a copy of it sitting right here. I'm sending a copy to somebody. Clearance and Copyright. Only you can see this, I know. But that's a book. And I think that's such an interesting question. I don't think anyone's asking what the takeaways are because it's such a robust book.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing that popped in my mind when you asked that question is that you can do it. Like so many clients self-censor themselves. I can't do this because I don't have money. I can't do this because I don't have the rights. I can't do this because I'll never get permission. And we always tell our clients, like, don't self-censor yourself. Do your project and let us tell you you can't. Because a lot of times people have a more conservative view of what they can do than what the law actually is. So I don't know, that was like the first thing that came to my mind is like, you can do it. And this really gives you tools. Like what we really tried to make is a very user-friendly book. It has downloadable forms that you can get in a Word format so that you can manipulate them. Like it's not one of those books that's like, oh, buy this and then you'll have to call us to ask us questions. We're really like, buy this book, get through your first couple films or your first couple projects, and then call us when you have a budget and we'll deal with the more complicated issues with you.
Are there some specific milestones or moments during your career as an attorney that you're particularly proud of or are particularly memorable in a positive way for you?
Um, this is gonna might sound weird, I don't know, but we moved. So during COVID, our lease ran up in December of 2020 in our office space, and so we just gave it up, and we had a small space that was just like a temporary office space for with a few offices for
Mhm.
people to go to when they needed an office space or for us to meet. And in last July, we moved into our new space, which is more than double the size, and it's actually really beautiful. And I was very much involved with the design and the aesthetic of it, and the layout, and all of the decisions. And we walked in like on the first day in July, and I saw like our team all together, and it was buzzing, and people were chatting, and I just kind of looked around. I was like, really proud. I was very proud, not just of the space, I think more so of the team that we've created and that I think I've had a very heavy hand in. I love our team. We have such a great group of lawyers and administrative people, and it's really an important part. Like I want to like coming to work to every day. My partner once said, he's like, we were talking about hiring someone. He's like, well, it's not really someone I want to work with. And I was like, well, we get to decide that. And that is so important for everybody's mental health to come to a place where you like the people you're working with. And so anyway, so that day, walking into the office and seeing the office space, seeing how much everyone loved it, seeing the camaraderie around amongst everybody and being back together again was like a very proud moment for me. So it's not
Nice.
really client related, but it certainly is in terms of the success of the firm and who we are. It
Yeah.
was really great.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, who do you consider? I can guess who you're going to say, but who do you consider to be a mentor, and what is that person's best advice that you've received, or maybe something that you've learned by observing or working with that person?
So I mean, I think I'd say Michael Donaldson's
Yeah.
definitely my legal mentor. He has been such a great partner and mentor, really at the same time, in such a generous and kind way.
Hmm.
And I think that I think one of the things that he's really imparted on me is really just sort of a compassion and a um, liking of our clients and what they're doing, and really thinking with like, how can I help them get through this issue? As opposed, so many times it just feels adversarial. You're like, I don't want to do this, or no, we don't want to deal with that, or just so much easier to say no. And Michael is really into figuring out how to get to the yes, and I really think I've adopted that from him. And really finding out more information. That's always something that we'll go in and we'll talk about something, and he's like, well, what about this? What about that? What about that? And that idea of fact gathering and really understanding the whole picture from both sides is really another thing that I think I've learned from him. So yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Hey, I have one more question for you, but but first, how can people find out more about Donaldson Calif Perez?
We have a website, donaldsoncalifperez.com. So you can obviously go there, and all of our information's there, and our areas of practice, and who we are, bios on all of us, and standard lawyer stuff. So you can go to the website.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, last question: are there any daily rituals that you find particularly important? What would be in a particular day?
Um, I don't really have any daily ritual. I probably do. I don't have any that I can think of, but I do think that one of the most important things for me, and one thing I hate missing out on, like I love driving my kids to school. Like
Mm,
that is my
mhm.
favorite thing. Like starting my day off, like chatting with my 12-year-old in the car and bringing him to school, like really kind of sets the day off in a great way. And when I don't get to do that, I'm kind of bummed out about it.
Yeah, I could see that. Hey, Lisa, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for your time and for
You
your
too.
insights. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Chad.
So long,
Take
everybody.
care.
Thanks for listening to 15 Minutes. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.